Hi, my name is Amy Bodkin. I'm an autistic adult, and I also used to work as a school psychologist with public school students, private school students. The last few years, I've been consulting with homeschoolers all over the world through a Charlotte Mason plenary. And now I've recently moved to my own home on the internet at amybodkin.com, where we like to say that it's as easy as ABC. A, ally with us through our podcast and merchandise. B, boost your skills with our educational resources. And C, connect with us online through our online community and our private consultations. So I love working with families with special needs. And special needs in my mind means anybody who's got any kind of a need that needs a little extra TLC. Uh, That could be a learning difference. That could be a physiological health problem. That could be some kind of trauma that you're working through. It can be the parent or it can be the child. It's anything in our families where we need a little extra TLC. And truthfully, everybody at some point in their life will experience some kind of a special need. If you manage to make it out of this life without experiencing any kind of trauma, come back and tell us how you did it because we want to know. So recognizing that we all have these kinds of needs at some point in our lives is what allows us to have eye-to-eye relationships with each other. So instead of placing someone on a pedestal that's too high to reach, oh, they're so inspirational, or putting someone below our feet to be trampled on of, well, they have differences. We really want those eye-to-eye relationships where we can acknowledge that, yes, I'm different like you, only not. I'm different differently. um, so anyways, I love connecting with families. I love supporting families. Um, I have the best time in my online membership with our families. My favorite day, honestly, is Wednesday morning. I get online and I do either yoga or a marionette video or a sign language video. I do something online along with a craft. It's different each time. And then the second hour, some of the older kids join us and we play on our private Minecraft server. And I tell people all the time that it's basically like play therapy because we're learning constantly while we're playing. I just don't bill it that way because then the kids wouldn't want to come. But we have so much fun, and they'll always have something they want to show me, whether it's a new toy or something that they've figured out how to do themselves. And I enjoy that time so much. I also enjoy spending time with the moms, discussing books online too, and doing consultations and helping families figure out how can we modify to bring peace and joy back into our homes, or to give our children an education that's completely tailored to their needs. So I really enjoy all the families that I get to connect with. But today, I wanted to talk to you for a few minutes about making a house a home, because I feel like that's something that's very important to us as parents. Um, and I think a lot of times we can get caught up thinking about the physical trappings of the home, our decor, the furnishings, or in the case of homeschooling, the curriculum or the materials or the setup or the schoolroom or whatever that is for you. And I think that a lot of times the reason that we focus on those things is because those are things we can control, or at least we feel like we can control. And there's a lot of other things that are really more important in making a house a home that are a lot harder to control because they're not some physical object that we can, do something with, leave it alone, and nothing happens. And it stays the way it is. Other things, the feelings, that's much harder. And I wanted to read you a quote that I particularly really enjoyed about the importance of home. What is a home? Why do we need a home? Uh, It's by Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, and it's from his essay on prayer. All things have a home. The bird has a nest, the fox has a hole, the bee has a hive. A soul without prayer is a soul without a home. In his cottage, even the poorest man may bid defiance to misery and malice. That cottage may be frail, its roof may shake, the wind may blow through it, the storms may enter it, but there is where the soul expects to be understood. Just as the body, so is the soul in need of a home. And really, that's what making a house a home is all about. It's creating a space where everyone in our home feels like they're great just the way they are, that they are loved and accepted for who they are right now in this moment. Not who they're going to be, not who they're growing to be, but who they are right now, where they can let go and just be themselves. Now, sometimes this can be hard because sometimes we have more than one person in our household who, when they are themselves, then they drive the other one crazy, especially if you have teenagers with hormones changing. Then you know exactly what I'm talking about. But trying to secure space for kids to be able to be themselves and to feel comfortable being themselves, and that being themselves is okay and meeting their specific sensory needs is okay. That's really important. And sometimes it means that we will organize our homes in an unusual way, or we'll do things in a way that is not the way other people do, and that's okay. Your house is not about everybody else outside of your house. Your house is about the people that are inside it and making sure that they feel like they are great just the way they are. Kind of like Mr. Rogers used to say, I like you just the way you are. And that's what we want to communicate with our homes, to the people in them especially. But that also comes across to people who come into your home from the outside. When the people in your home feel like they are loved exactly as they are and can be themselves exactly where they are right now, it becomes noticeable to other people who come in. And it is extremely refreshing because that's pretty much what everybody in this world is looking for. They're looking for a place to be themselves and to be loved for who they are. I am constantly reminded when thinking about this topic of Charlotte Mason and her 20 principles. There's a short section that was just life-changing for me, and I'd like to read that to you as well. The principles of authority on the one hand and of obedience on the other are natural, necessary, and fundamental. And that is true. You can't just go off and kill people. That's not okay. There's limitations on your behavior. But these principles are limited by the respect due to the personality of children, which must not be encroached upon, whether by the direct use of fear or love, suggestion or influence, or by undue play upon any one natural desire. How many times have you heard or even said yourself sometimes, if you do blank, then I'm going to blank. Or do this because you love me. Or giving kids suggestions, like using our perceptions to try to convince them of who they actually are. I've heard many of those things over the years. I've said some of them myself. And that's not who we want to be. We want to empower kids to be confident, to be independent. Not because they're not allowed to have help. That's not what our goal is. Our goal isn't for someone to feel like they can grow up and be an island. No man is an island. But we do want them to have a sense of confidence and be self-assured. And we get confidence as children by being surrounded by people who think we are great just the way we are. And that confidence gives us the ability to grow. You cannot imbue a child with confidence. Self-confidence comes from within. And the only thing that we can do to boost confidence is to provide an environment where they are loved and accepted exactly as they are. And that's hard because many of us didn't grow up with that. Many of us have heard threats made to us as children. One of my favorites, which doesn't make any sense at all, is I'm going to string you up by your toenails. When have you ever seen anyone strung up by their toenails? Also, using our relationships to try to get them to do the things we want. What if we allowed kids to be who they were? That's risky. What if you do that in public? You might get stares. But if it helps them grow to be confident, young people who can go forth into the world and give everything a go and have the confidence to do that, I think that's worthwhile. Charlotte Mason continues with, therefore, we are limited to 3 educational instruments: the atmosphere of environment, the discipline of habit, and the presentation of living ideas. The PNEU motto is education is an atmosphere, a discipline, and a life. When we're talking about making a house a home, we're talking about the atmosphere. Discipline of habit is really kind of, in my mind, more like mindfulness, being aware of what am I doing and how is that working for me and is it not working for me? And if it's not working for me, what's a way that I might be able to make an adjustment to make things work for me better? It's just being aware. It's not coming down hard on ourselves and trying to get ourselves to be someone we're not. That acceptance of ourselves and where we're at right now is incredibly important to developing self-confidence. And education being a life, it simply means this is part of our entire lives. We're always growing and learning. And these are the tools that we use to do it. But that atmosphere, so many times when I was a young homeschool mom, I remember thinking about, oh, well, I've got to get my decor right, or my decor isn't beautiful enough, or it's not natural enough, or it's not full of all the right living good things. We don't have famous painters on the wall. We do actually now, but they're cardstock, I promise. And all the things that I felt like we had to have. And it really wasn't about that. It wasn't about how I organized it. It wasn't how I displayed it. It wasn't even about the curriculums and books and stuff that I chose to use in our home. It wasn't about that at all. I mean, yeah, sometimes we can be a bit snobbish. I heard a college admissions counselor say that a student is homeschooled if they've read a whole lot of books, because nobody pushes kids to read really rich classics more than a homeschool parent. And they're not wrong. We want so much to give our kids the best of everything. But the best of everything that we can give our kids, the best way to make a house a home, is by simply loving them well and respecting them as individuals themselves. Having conversations with our kids about, how do you feel about that? I did a social media post recently about chores in our house. I often tell people that in our home, if you ask my kids about chores, they will tell you no taxation without representation. They're very American in their chores. But what that means is that when it comes to chores, I expect them to take care of their own things, but they don't take care of my decisions. They are not the ones who are responsible for making those decisions. If I have a lot of children and I need childcare help, then they they expect to be reimbursed because I was the one who was responsible for that decision. If I need the yard mowed, they're going to get high school credit for shop class, or they're going to be allowed to choose the lawnmower we buy if they're the ones who are doing it. They get to have a say, and I'm not making them responsible for my decisions. And that's just one way that we show respect to our children. There's a lot of other ways that we do that, just in the way that we talk with them and the way that we treat them, and in our expectations when we go out. How other people think of them is not my concern. They need to feel good about who they are being, but they also need the opportunity to learn their lessons in the time that they're ready to learn them. And sometimes that is so hard to watch. You know, if my child is hurting someone, I'm going to say something about that, because there are boundaries. Your freedom ends where another person's begins. But at the same time, sometimes it takes children a while to learn certain lessons, and they need to have the opportunity to make those mistakes just like we did. And sometimes that is so hard to watch, because you would like to see them be more gracious maybe than they are in this present moment. But that's how we learn. We learn by making mistakes. We learn by finding out what the consequences are to our choices. And there is no better place to do that than within your own home and within your own family, because that's a safe place to do it. It's a place where you know that you're loved, where you know that you are accepted, even when sometimes your behavior isn't quite as acceptable. And it's so incredibly important. Nothing you do the rest of this school year, the rest of this calendar year, is going to be as important as showering your children with love and acceptance. It's their job to work out the rest of it. It's their job to learn. It's their job to grow. I mean, really, honestly, if you've got a plant and, you water it and give it food every day, whatever it needs, sunlight, whatever. I mean, do you really think it's going to help if you keep talking to it and talking to it about how it needs to grow, and you need to look at the sunlight and you need to try and absorb that sunlight? That's not going to help anybody. That plant's going to grow just because you provided it with opportunities. Loving your children and just providing them with basic opportunities. Basic food, basic water, basic clothing, the basic needs. If you can meet their basic needs and shower them with love, they will grow. They will grow. You can spend all the time, money, worry that you want on trying to create the perfect homeschool modeled for your child. But what it really comes down to is love. That's it. We're reminded of a verse in the New Testament of, but these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. And it truly is. And if you look at that chapter, actually, 1 Corinthians 13, the entire chapter is just talking about love. You can do all these things, but it comes down to love. That's what it's all about. It all comes back to that. So if you want to get a new couch, get a new couch, but that's not going to make your house a home. You want to get a new homeschool curriculum, fine. That's not going to make your house a home. It's not going to make your homeschool, perfect. What really makes a difference in your homeschool? It's not the furnishings of your home. It's not the curriculum or the books you choose. It's how much you love your child. That's what they will remember. Thanks for being with me, and looking forward to talking with you guys also about executive functioning and planning and organizing your homeschool. Thanks.